Netflix's new documentary, simply titled Alexander, has stirred up quite a bit of controversy regarding the accuracy of Alexander's life, including his love interests, his proclivities, and certain details of his rise to power. I've watched it myself, and I'm no historian, but I can honestly say that it includes more than a few hints of modern culture plugged into the narrative, with its use of silly nicknames, unnecessary and blatant portrayals of men engaging each other intimately, and many other cringy interactions. Of course, that's to be expected from Hollywood, but I'm not going to focus on that in this video. Rather, I want to look at Alexander's rise to power and the subsequent fallout from a source that Netflix never bothered to look nor ever would. A source that offers real and undeniable facts about a man who nearly conquered the entire world. I'm talking about the Bible. Yes, Alexander the Great can not only be found in the Bible, but the details of his life were prophetically written down more than 200 years before he ever took his first breath. In the annals of history, few names evoke the same awe and admiration as that of Alexander the Great. Born in 356 BC, the Macedonian king would rise to become one of the most celebrated military geniuses of all time. From a young age, Alexander showed an insatiable thirst for conquest and glory, and by the age of 20 he ascended to the throne of Macedonia, inheriting a kingdom ripe for expansion. What followed was a rapid succession of conquests that stretched from Greece to Egypt and Persia and as far as India. He led his armies to victory after victory, forging an empire that spanned 3 continents. His conquests reshaped the political landscape of the ancient world, bringing together diverse cultures and people under the banner of Hellenistic civilization. But Alexander was more than just a conqueror. He was a visionary leader who sought to unite the known world under his rule, blending Greek culture with the traditions of the lands he conquered. Though his life was cut short at the age of 32 and his empire split, the Hellenism he spread continued and his legacy endured through the centuries, leaving a permanent mark on the course of human history. But was his mark on history made before he was even born? Was his rise to power inevitable? According to the Bible, it was. The story begins in the ancient land of Persia, where the prophet Daniel received visions from God. Daniel chapter 8 verses 1 through 8 reads, "In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared to me, Daniel, after that which appeared to me at the first. And I saw in the vision, and when I saw, I was in Susa, the citadel, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in the vision, and I was at the Ulai canal. I raised my eyes and saw, and behold, a ram standing on the bank of the canal. It had 2 horns, and both horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher one came up last. I saw the ram charging westward and northward and southward. No beast could stand before him, and there was no one who could rescue from his power. He did as he pleased and became great. As I was considering, behold, a male goat came from the west, across the face of the whole earth, without touching the ground. And the goat had a conspicuous horn between his eyes. He came to the ram with 2 horns, which I had seen standing on the bank of the canal, and he ran at him in his powerful wrath. I saw him come close to the ram, and he was enraged against him, and struck the ram and broke his 2 horns. And the ram had no power to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and trampled on him. And there was no one who could rescue the ram from his power. Then the goat became exceedingly great, but when he was strong, the great horn was broken. And instead of it, there came up 4 conspicuous horns toward the 4 winds of heaven." The first part of this passage paints a vivid picture of a ram with 2 horns, one towering above the other. The significance of this imagery is unveiled when the archangel Gabriel imparts wisdom to Daniel, explaining that these horns symbolize the mighty kings of Media and Persia, whereas the ram itself is a picture of the Medo-Persian Empire as a whole. Persia, represented by the taller horn, emerges as the dominant force within the Medo-Persian Empire, symbolizing Persia's supremacy over Media, and underscoring the powerful leadership of Persia. And we can see that this theme of Persian strength is reiterated through the vision of the ram, which was the national emblem of Persia, which had a ram stamped on its coins as well as on the headdresses of Persian emperors. As the narrative unfolds in Daniel chapter 8, verse 4, the Persian Empire is depicted as spreading its influence in 3 directions from its capital in Shushan, or Susa in Persia. But things change quickly as a male goat with a large horn between its eyes emerges from the west in verses 5 through 7, charges forth and shatters the horns of the ram. Now Gabriel reveals to Daniel that this goat represents Greece, the large horn, a figure later revealed by history to be none other than Alexander the Great. However, the prophecy takes a dramatic turn in verse 8 as the large horn on the goat is broken, symbolizing Alexander's untimely death, which happened at the young age of 32. Following his demise, Alexander's vast empire fractures into 4 weaker kingdoms, as foretold in verses 8 and 22. Due to the lack of a clear successor chosen by Alexander himself, his empire was divided into 4 parts, ruled by his generals. The 4 divisions manifest as Greece and Macedonia under Cassander's rule, Asia Minor governed by Lysimachus, Egypt and Palestine under Ptolemy Soter, and Syria, Babylonia, and territories stretching to India under Seleucus Nicator's reign. The accuracy of these prophecies is utterly amazing, but it gets even better. Earlier in Daniel chapter 7, he received a vision revealing 4 great beasts representing 4 kingdoms, each worse than the last, until finally God ends oppression and introduces his eternal kingdom in a future time. But let's take a look. Daniel 7 reads, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea, and 4 great beasts came up out of the sea, different from one another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. Then as I looked, its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the ground and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and the mind of a man was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second one, like a bear. It was raised up on one side. It had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth, and it was told, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I looked, and behold, another like a leopard, with 4 wings of a bird on its back. And the beast had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, terrifying and dreadful, and exceedingly strong. It had great iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces and stamped what was left with its feet. It was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up from among them another horn, a little one, before which 3 of the first horns were plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. This vision came to Daniel in the 6th century BC, just after the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, but before the Babylonian Empire was conquered by the Medo-Persian Empire. A little later in the chapter, we get some context. Daniel explains to us that these 4 beasts are 4 kingdoms ruling over the earth. The first kingdom, represented by a lion and an eagle, is the Babylonian Empire. Now this lines up perfectly with the greatness and authority of Nebuchadnezzar in his reign over the Empire of Babylon. Jeremiah also cites both the lion and the eagle as pictures of Nebuchadnezzar, and even today we can see Babylon's winged lions in discovered archaeological evidence. Now the bear is the second beast, and according to the passage, this bear had an insatiable appetite for conquest, as we saw in verse 5 when it reads, Arise, devour much flesh. Now we know that the bear represented the Medo-Persian Empire, which succeeded the Babylonian Empire. Most scholars believe the 3 ribs represent the 3 great military conquests of the Medo-Persians, including Babylon, Egypt, and Lydia, which makes sense considering the placement of the ribs in the bear's mouth as being devoured by the bear. Now, the slow, devastating armies of the Medo-Persian Empire are well known today among historians. In fact, the Medo-Persians were known to overwhelm their opponents with their size and strength. Famous 19th century theologian Adam Clarke says, The Medes and Persians are compared to a bear on account of their cruelty and thirst after blood, a bear being a most voracious and cruel animal. Famous theologian H.A. Ironside says, regarding the command to, quote, arise and devour much flesh, he says that it indicates the extreme cruelties often practiced by the Persians and the wide extent of their conquests. Now the third beast is a leopard, which are known for their sudden unexpected attacks, but this particular leopard, is different because it has 4 wings and 4 heads, and many believe that this symbolizes the quickness and cleverness of the Greek Empire. And as we covered before, Alexander the Great quickly conquered the civilized world by the age of 28. Adam Clarke says, quote, Nothing in the history of the world was equal to the conquests of Alexander, who ran through all the countries from Illyricum and the Adriatic Sea to the Indian Ocean and the river Ganges, and in 12 years subdued part of Europe and all Asia. After his death, Alexander's empire was divided into 4 parts, represented in the prophecy by the beast's 4 heads. Now we know from historical accounts that the 4 heads symbolize his generals, Cassander, Lysimachus, Seleucus, and Ptolemy, all of whom inherited Alexander's empire after his death. Now, even up to this point, it's impossible for Daniel to know any of this without divine inspiration. While the Babylonian Empire dominated in Daniel's day, and perhaps he could have made a wild guess that the next empire would be the Medo-Persians, okay, but how could Daniel know that the next world empire would be like a leopard in its rise and prominence, and that it would be divided into 4 parts? This shows that God knows the future. He knows the end from the beginning, as stated in Isaiah chapter 46, verse 10. I declare the end from the beginning, and ancient times from what is still to come. And now we come to the 4th and final beast. Daniel writes that he kept, quote, looking into the night visions and saw a 4th beast. This beast terrifies Daniel to the core, with its, quote, dreadful and terrifying strength, profoundly more vicious and disturbing than the other beasts. Bearing its large iron teeth, the 4th beast represents the Roman Empire, which came to power after Greece and was not only the greatest and mightiest empire of them all, but also more united and enduring through time. Now, when Daniel notes that this beast is different from all the other beasts before it, he's most likely referring to both its appearance and the manner in which it conquered its enemies. Scholars believe the iron teeth and bronze claws indicate Rome's reliance on engineering and technology to apply its might. And to this day, the Roman Empire's powerful legacy continues to influence us. In fact, many scholars believe the Roman Empire will be revived in the end times. In Daniel chapter 7, verse 24, an angel explains, quote, "The beast's 10 horns are 10 kings who will arise from that kingdom." And the little horn in this chapter is the same as the first beast of Revelation chapter 13, which also has 10 horns. And similar to the horn of Daniel's 4th beast, John's beast in Revelation, quote, was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies. It opened its mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name. Biblical scholars have identified this beast as the Antichrist, the, quote, ruler who will come, who sets up the abomination in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, which I can't get into here, but it's definitely worth a read. The reason many scholars believe the Roman Empire will be revived in the end times is due to the fact that the little horn emerges from the 4th beast. So this restoration, whatever form it takes, it will feature a coalition of 10 world leaders. In Daniel 7, verse 25, we see that the Antichrist will seek to change the times and laws, and he will rise to the top at the expense of 3 of those 10 leaders, eventually holding global authority and seeking to control every aspect of life. He will even demand to be worshipped, according to both Daniel chapter 7 and Revelation 13. Now, the power of the Antichrist will not last very long, because we know that immediately following his rise to power is the second coming of Jesus. At that time, the Antichrist's power will be taken away and completely destroyed forever, and Jesus will establish his millennial kingdom. But according to Daniel and Revelation, this reign of the Antichrist will be limited to just 42 months, or 3.5 years. And no more. At that time, the little horn will lose his war against God, ending his blasphemy and violent control over the world, and ushering in the eternal reign of Christ. Let me note, though, that the precise details of the future foretold in Daniel's prophecies, they did not make sense to him or his generation. When we get a glimpse of Daniel's state of mind and his confusion in chapter 12, verse 8, regarding his end times visions, he says, quote, "And I heard, but I understood not." You see, God meant these prophecies for later generations, not only to serve as a testament to the divine inspiration behind the words of the ancient prophets, but also to prepare those of us living in the end times today. Daniel 12, verse 9 reads, "Then the angel Gabriel commands him, But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words, and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end." But today, we have something that Daniel didn't, and that is history. We can understand the visions more fully since it has been revealed to us through the historical fulfillment of these events and the completion of the Bible, which contains many other prophecies that speak of this very subject. And it should excite us to know that we are among those whom these ancient secrets have been revealed. My friends, we are among the generation of those who were meant to unseal the book. it was written for us because we are living in the last days. And I'll tell you what, time is running out to get right with God, to put your trust in Christ, to bow before Him with a repentant heart and ask Him for forgiveness of your sins. Don't wait any longer, because soon the world is going to go through some very dark times before Christ ultimately returns. And once He does, it will be too late. Take care and God bless.